Hi, I'm back from holiday, or we're back from holiday, the whole family. I didn't just leave them there, although there were moments. I've been debating whether to make this video for the last couple of days, and I haven't been able to make up my mind for a while. I know that seems strange now that I'm recording it. Surely I have made up my mind, but I'm not even entirely sure I'm going to post it, but I'm going to film it, see what I think, see how I feel, and then potentially post it. So if you're watching this, you'll know the outcome of my thoughts. So we went on holiday to Spain and we stayed in a villa, a beautiful villa with a really lovely pool. Now prior to going, we had two children who weren't particularly pool confident. Rufus was getting there. We'd given him some lessons taught by ourselves, and then we paid for a short course the week before we went to help sort of boost his confidence a bit, just so that he would actually get in the pool and, you know, engage with the idea of learning to swim. And Eloise has not really had any lessons, but she has been to pools. We've taken her, but she's always been quite frightened, understandably so. And so yeah, so they weren't very pool confident. So we were very aware of that going. Now Nick, being the kind of person that he is, he had read loads of articles and watched videos about, you know, keeping children safe in the pool and the risks of secondary drowning and dry drowning, and I think to a certain extent it actually kind of worked himself up into a bit of a flurry of worry over it. But, you know, our feeling has always been it's better to be over-prepared than under-prepared. So we, you know, for about 2 weeks before we went, we made it really clear to the children that you do not go near the pool unless there is a grown-up with you. The pool where the children's bedrooms were staying and where the living room area was actually on like the first floor. The pool was obviously on the ground floor, outside. So yeah, it was, you don't even go down to the ground floor unless there is a grown-up there with you. And we instilled that, and we would get them to say it back to us over and over and over again. And even Eloise, who's, you know, she's only really just 3, and yet she got it, and she was great about it. She totally understood what we were saying. And the day before we went, or in fact the day that we were flying out, she came to me in the morning. She'd woken up really early, and she came to me and she said, I had a nightmare. And I was like, what's your nightmare? She said, I was stuck, Rufus was stuck at the bottom of the pool. That was the image, that she had this really strong image. And now we'd not said anything of that kind to her. We'd not been that explicit in what could happen if they weren't sensible in the pool. We'd only ever been sort of quite vague about it, but, you know, we told them the rule. Not necessarily why there was a rule, but just that there was one. So I'm not sure where she got the image from, but obviously a very strong, definite image. And for the first week that we were there, the pool itself was a bit weird because it had sort of a ledge that was, I don't know, maybe 3 feet wide, maybe 4. I'm not great with my dimensions, but it was a little bit wide, and that was like a shallow ledge within the pool, so it gave you sort of a paddling area that, you know, came up to sort of, I don't know, between Eloise's ankle and knee, sort of mid-calf kind of paddling room. And then there were steps down from that into sort of the shallow end of the pool, but that shallow end didn't last long. It wasn't long before we were out of our depth and we were having to tread water or swim or whatever. So to begin with, she was staying in that paddling space, not because we weren't encouraging her to come in with, you know, water wings and a rubber ring, but just because she definitely didn't feel safe getting in the deeper water, and so she stayed at the edge. And that was fine, and she had a lovely time. She really enjoyed it. And then, sort of as the first week drew to a close, she started to, well, we basically just sort of thought, like, she she's not going to get the most out of this. She's never going to get confident unless we kind of like force the issue a bit. So we, you know, would sort of grab her, again, wearing her rubber ring, wearing her water wings most of the time, but certainly one or the other, and mostly the rubber ring because she loves her rubber ring. And we would pull her into the water with us, holding her the whole time, and she would sort of protest and be upset about it, but it would slowly sort of come around and start laughing and giggling. And then we would sort of, as the days wore on, we sort of extended that a bit to, you know, not holding her so close, holding her further away, or holding her with just one hand and doing high fives with the other hand and things like that, and trying to sort of encourage a bit of confidence and independence in her that, you know, she was going to be okay. And every single time we did it, she is begging me the whole time, don't let me get to the bottom of the pool, don't let me fall to the bottom of the pool, and I'd keep promising that I wouldn't let that happen. Second week rolls around and my brother and his wife and my niece came to join us, and that meant that my niece who's 8 and is a much more confident swimmer. She's had lessons for a while now. She was barely out of the pool for the whole week, and Rufus was just, I mean, the progress he made between the day we arrived and the day we left. I mean, he's now swimming underwater. This kid is insane. It was brilliant. It was amazing, and a big part of that was having my niece there to sort of encourage him and to show him what she could do, and then he wanted to do the same, and it was really wonderful to watch. And because they were having such a lovely time, Eloise was more encouraged to join in and have a lovely time, and she did so well. In her rubber ring, she would get in the pool, she was going up to the deep end, she's like doing front crawl with her arms and kicking with her legs whilst wearing this rubber ring. She's splashing and laughing, and she came up with her own style of swimming, which involved a lot of twirling in the water. It was the sweetest thing. And she was loving it. Now on the Wednesday, I think, my mum and I were in the pool, so we were on holiday with my parents as well. My mum was in the pool with me, and the kids were all in the pool with us, and Eloise was standing in the paddling bit, and then decided she wanted to get in, and it was almost like there was just sort of a moment of like forgetting that she needed her rubber ring, and she just stepped off the ledge into the deeper part of the pool. Now, you know, I was right there, so I just sort of went, whoa, you don't want to do that. And she spluttered a bit and was a bit like, oh my god, what was that? But she wasn't upset by it. After a couple of seconds, she was back to sort of going, where's my rubber ring? And looking for that, and then getting back in the pool. So that happened on the Wednesday. On the Friday night, we were having a pool party, which is something that we did. We went on a family holiday a couple of years ago, and we did the same thing. We had a pool party on the last night. So we decided to have this pool party, which meant like a big, really like lovely meal that everyone could share, and then everybody gets in the pool with the lights turned on, so it's like a bit special because it's, you know, slightly after dark. Not actually dark, but the kids feel like it is because the pool lights are on. And then sort of presents after that, sort of like an end of holiday gift for everybody. So we did that, we'd had our meal, and we were about to get in the pool, and I think my niece, this is where it gets a bit hazy, but I think my niece was already in the pool, and Rufus was certainly heading that way, but he didn't have his costume on yet. Eloise was already in her swimming costume because she was barely out of it in the second week. And I heard her say, I need my rubber ring, where's my rubber ring? I can't reach my rubber ring. And then I glanced over at the pool, and the rubber ring is up the deep end. And I had the thought to myself, oh, I'll ask Ramona, that's my niece, to go swim and get it for her. And then I got distracted. I was sitting at the head of the table, and someone at the other end of the table happened to say something, and I glanced back at them and started chatting. Now my brother, who was sort of in between the two ends of the table and was looking out towards the pool, just said, Eloise is just in the pool, Eloise is under the water, Eloise is in the water. And the words were barely, and he said it very calmly but very quickly, and the words were barely out of his mouth, and I was up and running towards the pool, and I saw her, and Nick who had been at the other end of the table, he was up and he was running. Now Nick is a stronger, more confident swimmer than I am, and I had a moment of choice because I was technically slightly ahead of him, barely, but I was, you know, I was at the pool edge just second, like a nanosecond before him, but I knew he was a stronger swimmer, and I just thought, actually, let him jump in, grab her, and I can then be there to take her from him so that he can get out. And he did. He jumped in, he grabbed her, I jumped into the paddling area, he handed her straight to me. I mean, she was less than a foot away from the paddling area. She really hadn't gone very far. She must have literally just stepped off the edge like she'd done the Wednesday before. And I grabbed hold of her, and I realised that I couldn't stay where I was. I needed to move. I needed to get away from all the looks and the rest of the crowd. So I just ran her straight up the stairs, and then she started being sick, and it was just water and her dinner. We'd finally got her to eat something healthy, and she vomited that back up. But yeah, and then it was water, and then she started apologising for being sick on me, and I was like, don't apologise. Be sick, because it means you're okay. It means it's coming up. And those, and she was fine. She was absolutely fine. She was crying, but I think more from shock than anything else, and possibly because of the fact that we were clearly upset. But she didn't take long to come around and start telling me that her favourite colour was red and that Rufus's favourite colour is blue, and then asking about why colours existed, basically. And then she was asking for her swimming costume again, because we'd had to take it off because it was covered in sick. She was asking for that, and she was trying to explain to me that she was just trying to get her rubber ring, and she just wanted her rubber ring. She was completely fine. Nick and I, on the other hand, not so much. And it's funny because when these traumatic events happen, everybody kind of perceives it in a different way. I suppose in any aspect of life, people perceive these things in a different way. And it wasn't until last night, we got home on Saturday night, and it wasn't until last night, in fact, late last night, which was Saturday, Nick and I really properly talked about it and talked about what we remembered happening, and he actually remembered a lot less. I think he went into like laser focus, get in the water, get her out, whereas I don't know, perhaps because I wasn't actually in the water, I had a bit more time to take in what was happening and to think about it. And I think also with the trauma counselling I've had off the back of the birth trauma, I have learnt to think about the facts of the situation rather than just thinking about how I'm feeling and my weird perceptions of it all, but actually think about what actually happened. And the thing is, I saw her in the water, but she was not under. She was above it. You know, her head was up. She was kicking. She was moving her arms. She was doing everything right to keep herself afloat and to keep herself up. And yes, she was swallowing water, but I don't think she swallowed that much. And in fact, the amount of time that she could have been in the water without us there was 5 seconds tops, absolute tops. 5 seconds. You know, there was barely anything to it. And another thing that's very reassuring is that, you know, her brother, who was right there, and her cousin, who was right there, were completely oblivious to what had happened and had no idea that this potential tragedy had occurred. And it wasn't just a case of, you know, young kids aren't aware of terrible things happening. They literally didn't even realise that she had fallen in the water. They were so unaware of it, and it was so quick, and it was so sort of uneventful in their mind that they were completely fine. And I think, you know, as oblivious as kids can be sometimes, I think they're also pretty smart, and if they thought that there was any real danger, they would have picked up on that, and they didn't. They absolutely didn't. And 10 minutes after the whole thing happens, Eloise is back in the water, swimsuit on, rubber ring, in the deep end with my mum, doing her same twirling swimming that she was doing. Like, she was completely fine. And like I said, we'd done our research on like dry drowning and secondary drowning, so we were like, couldn't fully relax for about 12 hours afterwards, just keeping an eye out for symptoms. But she showed no signs of any physical symptoms at all, and emotionally she seemed completely normal. And today Rufus wanted to go to the pool, so Nick took him to the leisure centre, and Eloise was wanting to go too. Like, she's not frightened. It hasn't, as far as we can tell so far, it hasn't caused any trauma in her, which is amazing. It's brilliant. But you do feel shit as a parent. I mean, we couldn't really have done much more. I mean, we were watching. I mean, the very fact that my brother literally saw her step into the pool, we were watching. We were keeping our eyes on the kids. We weren't complacent. We weren't distracted by our phones. We weren't prioritising anything stupid over the lives of our kids. We got up as soon as we knew that there was a situation. We were up out of our chairs and running, and I'm not a runner, and I was running across that space. And you know, the way I describe it makes it sound like it was a long distance. It's not. It's maybe 4 strides from the table to the pool. Like, it really wasn't that far. We were right there. But it's one of the most terrifying, certainly recent experiences I've had. And I'm amazed I'm not crying. I think I've had, you know, 48 hours to sort of process what happened, and I'm not as tearful as I was, but that's not to say I won't have flashbacks or weird memories of it. And it's funny because Nick, because of the way he saw it and the way he experienced it, he had a very different reaction to it. What he saw was his daughter lying with her face under the water, and that wasn't how she was. There might have been a split second where she looked like she was in that position, but she wasn't like that at all. She was a fighter. You know, she is a fighter, and she was fighting to keep herself afloat until we got there. I know we were very lucky. I know we were very, very lucky. But I also know that part of that luck was the fact that we were vigilant, and we are vigilant, and that we don't take these things lightly, and we are very serious about our children's safety. And I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful that I have a husband who reads articles about these things. I'm grateful that I have a husband who's a strong swimmer and is also a very fast runner and got there first, or got there as quickly as I did. I'm very, very grateful that our kid is just an absolute hero. Like, she's got some spirit, that kid, and I'm so proud of that. I'm proud of how my family dealt with it too. They were great. They were so helpful with her because they didn't over dramatize it with her. They just said, "Oh, that was silly, wasn't it? What a silly moment," and they really played it down so that any potential trauma that she might be feeling sort of wasn't encouraged. It was just, let's get back in the pool, you know, like get back on the horse again type thing. And you know, they all came and they checked in with us because they knew that actually the people that were most affected were us, and they were great about that. And I was that night in bed, I was very, very unwell, very sick, and I think that was just the adrenaline causing my body to react that way. So why am I making the video? Why am I admitting to this awful event, even though actually I don't think we had any fault? But, you know, why am I admitting to it? Because I think that people need to know that these things can happen, even in the most vigilant of families, even in the most careful of families. Things can happen, you know, kids can step out into the road for that split second that you don't have your eye on them. You know, I was run over when I was 5. It wasn't my parents' fault, and it wasn't because I wasn't being watched. Accidents happen, and it's because we were vigilant, and it's because we were all down there by the pool and the kids weren't allowed down there by themselves, that when it happened we were right there and we were able to get to them on time. And it's very easy for me to blame myself that it happened at all, and I think, you know, it's very easy for outsiders to blame people for when these terrible things happen, but actually I don't know many parents who would allow themselves to not pay attention around water. And if you are going to take your kids to the swimming pool, or if you're going to go to the beach, there are going to be moments where you're going to get distracted because something will happen to distract you. Life is like that. And I'm not saying it's going to be your phone or social media, which is what is now being blamed for a lot of these accidents. It's going to be because someone else that you're with talks to you. So you take your eye off one child to talk to the other, or, you know, it's going to be something that's completely uncontrollable, and it's going to cause you to take your eyes off the situation for a split second, and in that split second your child does something completely out of the norm and completely unpredictable, and it's how you react to it and how you deal with it afterwards. So we were quick, we got there, we got her out, we didn't faff about, we didn't stand there going, oh, what do? We dealt with it, we got there and we got her out and she was fine. And I think that's the takeaway from this. That's the only thing I can take away from this. Just be really careful, and be ready to jump in that pool when you need to, because there will be times. And this is a metaphor for other things in life. There will be times when you will need to jump in a pool. And this was just our time. This girl was put on this earth to make me stop breathing, I swear to God. I love her. I love her so much. And in fact, that's the moments I've been tearful, is when she has, since that incident, been particularly cute or particularly funny or particularly lovely, and just the fleeting thought of what if. But she's fine, and we're fine, and we're home safe and sound, and we're all going to be okay. Alright, well, next time I'll do more of a pregnancy update. I'm 30 weeks now, almost 31 weeks, getting into the home stretch, so next time I'll try and talk about something a bit jollier. Alright, well, if you want to hear more from me, I promise more of my videos to be jolly and full of lightheartedness, then please subscribe below and click that notification bell so you find out whenever I post a new video. And if you like the message of this video, or hopefully you like the message of this video, hopefully you're not all judging me right now, then please give me a thumbs up, and leave your comments below if you've ever experienced anything like this, or you know someone who has, or you have advice for people moving forward and what to do if similar situations occur. Okay, well, that's it for now. Bye.